Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, I posted a video in which I shared my experience at the second Audrey Extravaganza event, an event which honours the legacy and fans of the beautiful book series, the Railway series, and its author, Wilbert Awdry, and is hosted at the Tallyclyn Railway, the inspiration behind the Skarloey Railway. This year, I had the privilege of attending the third event, and what an incredible experience it was. So join me, my dear friends, as I recount my experience returning to the Skarloey Railway in 2023. This is the Audrey Extravaganza. Before we talk about the main event, I must share the wacky hijinks of the journey to Wales. So last year I took the train up to Tywyn, but this year my friend Alex Productions was kind enough to offer me a lift, at the cost of a tram off to Terence. I arranged to meet Alex at East Grinstead station, and as such, an over £100 journey turned into a mere £11.50. All the more money to burn in the gift shop, and money I certainly burned. It was wonderful to finally meet Alex face to face, having just spoken online and in video calls for over 5 years. As such, the journey wasn't awkward in the slightest, and we just chatted for the duration of the 6-hour road trip. However, no good road trip is without adventure. And, dear viewers, our journey was a lot more eventful than we'd anticipated. Firstly, a few hours in, we were greeted by the charming sight of a sheep beside the road, shaking its rear end in our general direction as it released its excrement. Then Alex took a wrong turn and his GPS sent us on a tiny remote farmer's road, which involved us having to get through a gate which yours truly had to hold open to let Alex drive through. Following on from that experience, we were sent down another dirt road. This one actually had other cars on it. One of those said cars was driving in front of us, so Alex tried to reverse into a bush to let them pass. Surprisingly enough, that didn't work. And at the climax of that part of the journey, we had to get past yet another gate. On our way through, another group of sheep stared at us in a very judgmental way. We both felt very thick that afternoon. When we finally arrived in Tywyn, blasting Mike O'Donnell's The Engine theme CD, we were pretty happy to have finally made it. Now then, allow me to talk you through the events of the Audrey Extravaganza. After checking in and having a quick waz, I headed to Tywyn Wharf Station. I had a bit of time before I was due to catch the opening event, which was the Fred train, so I spent a bit of time socialising with my fellow Thomas fans. What was so great about this year's event is that most of my friends, who I'd known online for most of this channel's journey, were all here in person. Well, I'd met Will in person several times. It's in that,
Oh.
It's in there.
Is it chocolate?
No, that's mine. Mine's off. I mean, I'll offer you one, but,
Okay.
you can have one if you like. But yeah, look in the,
Is it
in the drawer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is for me, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I know you'd love it.
Thank you. I appreciate the gift. Much as kindness. Yes. Cool. Oh, yes, very nice.
And I joined Alex for a road trip. Tom, and later Spencer, I'd never had the privilege of meeting face to face, and getting to finally interact with them in person was a huge honour, and I'm so happy that this event finally brought us all together. Our fellowship then went into the gift shop and purchased t-shirts for the event. I bring this up because I selected the child's t-shirt, and despite the fact that this weekend was right before my 19th birthday, the shirt fit me. Hey, I like the colour. With the next day's clothing sorted out, it was time to board the Fred train. I shared the experience with Dante, or the Lonely Locomotive, who I befriended at last year's event, and I was really happy to get on this train with a familiar face. The first surprise this weekend was the coach, which had been painted to look like a coach from the Skarloey Railway. Seeing this, I made a beeline for it before the train had even stopped, as I was determined to sit in it. And I was successful in my mission. So we sat back, relaxed, and had a wonderful journey up the railway. I also want to note that it's a real shame that Fred only got a single mention in the railway series and was never pictured, because Alf is such a beautiful locomotive, and to see Clive Spong's interpretation and how he would have adapted this stunning engine into the universe of Sodor would have been truly wonderful. After posing with Fred at Abergynolwyn, we returned to the wharf. By that point, it was absolutely freezing, and I hadn't bought a jacket, as I was used to the scorching weather of summer in London. But as Dante's such a great bloke, he lent me his jacket. Back at the wharf, we were ushered into the refreshment room for an exclusive surprise. After much speculation among me and my friends, the surprise turned out to be a narration of Oliver the Western Engine, as read by Wilbert Awdry himself, which the team had put together by editing it alongside the illustrations, making for a beautiful presentation I felt so happy to experience. Hearing Wilbert narrate his own stories was lovely. You could really tell the passion and love he had for his work, and it was incredibly infectious. He had such a calming tone as well. As much as we all love Willie Rushton, it is a pity that Wilbert didn't narrate his books for the mainstream audience, because he was a perfect narrator. But that wasn't all, my friends. They were also displaying the book's original illustrations, as painted by Gunver and Peter Edwards in the late 60s. Seeing these up close was truly fascinating. I was able to notice details I hadn't before, such as Bolgy's facial hair and Oliver's crew reacting to the turntable crash. They truly were the best artists in the Railway series. Their pictures were so incredibly detailed and visually stunning, and you could even see the marks in the paintings. It was incredible. So allow me to show you them for yourself. I'll be back after this brief slideshow. Hello again. So afterwards, I got a pizza and went to bed incredibly excited for what the next day would bring. On the subject of which, the following morning, I arrived rocking my child's t-shirt, and I was greeted with a buzzing atmosphere. The Audrey Extravaganza had officially begun, and all of the engines were dressed like the characters from the books, with one noticeable exception. In fact, the crew had gone the extra mile with Rusty, painting Midlander in Rusty's Railway Series livery, until the rain washed it off a few hours later. Excited to use our explorer's ticket, myself, Will and Alex, the three gallant musketeers, boarded the first train of the day, which was pulled by Ivo Hugh, a character underrepresented by the books, but an absolute beauty to see in action. Despite the horrifying face, which I still see every night when I close my eyes, he gave us a splendid journey to Abergynolwyn, where I got to see what Adam and Dante were up to.
Oh, hello, Will. Yes, I'm drawing Duncan here. It's definitely not blasphemous compared to this one. Which one's better, do you think? This one or this one?
I'd say the blue one actually. It's more
well,
clean.
okay. I like the contrast between
Yeah.
the black. It's nice, and the white buffers. But this is I regret doing this honestly. I might actually colour that in black, but I'm currently colouring it in. See, just a bit of green there, and there's plenty of steam up. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, hi. I know this might seem off to many fans, but obviously he's just come back from seeing Barbie, you know?
Yeah, so he's... And all this is actually going to be explosions for Oppenheimer.
Exactly,
So, yeah. So...
Yeah, he has a whole Barbie collection in the shed.
Well, it's not an Ursel, Rheneas. It's not meant to be Magic Railroad Lady. It's meant to be Barbenheimer. So you have, Barbie here, and you have the fire, smoke, and all explosions. So you get the sort of contrast, and that's why it's written here. But anyway, whatever.
Okay.
You live and learn. You live and learn.
I also got to see some splendid models of the Farker crew and the Scarloey engines, which were on display in the cafe. Although the best part of the journey was getting to see Smudger, as Will, being a Railway Series purist, was so genuinely annoyed by the presence of a TV-exclusive character that we spent the whole weekend teasing him about it. I can't tell you the amount of times we quoted the story of Smudger in full at him. It got to the point that it was a persistent earworm in Alex's head on the car ride home. Good times. During the journey back, we got to see Duncan's face for the first time. We stopped to let his train pass, and as we sat and waited, we were greeted to the face of a very grumpy git who evidently didn't want to be there. The only one of us that weekend who was having a miserable time, but that's typical of Duncan, isn't it? The shit. But in all seriousness, it was a wonderful 3D printed face that the team should be very proud of because they absolutely nailed it. It captures Duncan's characteristics perfectly, and I'll tell you what, it was fantastic getting to see such a accurate representation of one of my favourite characters the whole weekend. After getting back, we had a quick peek at Audreys Park layout, which was on display in the Narrow Gauge Museum this time, instead of being exclusive to the exhibition, which was lovely, as everyone got to see it for free whenever they wanted. Also, the first illustration from Thomas Comes to Breakfast was on display with it, but more on the layout later on. After that, we were able to gather the gang in full. It was a moment I'd been waiting for over 5 years. My friends, all of us, myself, Will, Alex, Tom, and Spencer, all in one place. The people that had helped me and been close friends for such a long time, and our group was finally in the same place, in person, for the first time. And it was wonderful. We took a group photo that was long in the making. While Barney, the Arsted engine, couldn't make it, he sent me a photo to include in the group picture, so he was with us in spirit that weekend. That was probably one of my highlights that weekend. It was just a lovely moment to finally have my friends of half a decade together, and to have a photo to commemorate the occasion. Also, there was another model display, and Will got a cheer when he put his Ertl Duncan on the table.
Engine of the day, engine of the day.
Let's just hope it doesn't stroke that man's gargantuan ego. With some time to kill before the lecture that evening, Alex and I decided to ride on Ivo's flying Bedstead for a ride to Pendray and back. While we were both expecting a relaxing ride for 10 minutes or so, what we got was something much better. Immediately upon getting on board, we were met with a vibrating sensation that made it clear that the following 10 minutes were going to be a lot of fun. Indeed, when the trolley left, neither of us had expected it to be quite as fast as it was, and both of us felt like we were going to fall out. But by God, what a feeling! It felt like we were riding a theme park ride. It was just incredible. When we arrived back at the wharf, I wanted to get up like a 5-year-old and scream, "Again! Again!" I wasn't even sure I was going to do it when I arrived, and I just decided to go on it at the last minute to kill some time. But it ended up being one of the best experiences of that entire weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't ridden on a railway trolley before, I highly recommend it. That evening, we went to the Magic Lantern Cinema to see Veronica Chambers, Wilbert's daughter, deliver a beautiful lecture about the life of her father. It was incredibly beautiful. She said, as she started, that she hadn't spoken in front of such a large crowd before, but you'd never have noticed. She was a natural. It was so heartfelt, and it was fascinating to learn so much about Audrey's life. The fact that he had a bell system for when to be called away from his models, and how he'd often ignore the dinner bell, and his incredible sense of humour, such as his only response to being asked if an engine could be named after him being, as long as it's not a diesel. But what was really heartwarming was to learn just how much he clearly loved his family, and how, despite his fame, he never considered himself to be a world-famous author, and always put the needs of his role as a vicar before those of his writing career. I also got to speak to Tim Dunn during the interval, and he remembered me from last year, which was really lovely of him. He also kindly signed my copy of Great Little Engines, and wrote, "Never stop playing with trains" inside it, an instruction which I intend to follow to the letter. He's just such a lovely man, and I hope that I get to meet him again if this event is put on in the future. Then there was an auction. I missed the first item, but arrived as they sold off a map of Sodor illustrated by the Edwards, another Railway Series surprise pack, and a first edition copy of the Thomas the Tank Engine Man signed by most of the Awdry family. This time, however, I restrained myself and didn't bid when the items entered triple figures. I'd learnt my lesson from last year's surprise pack incident. I mean, honestly, could you imagine paying that much for pretty much worthless Shut up. After the interval, Tim Dunn, alongside the Scotsman Returns and Butterfly Coffee, put on a show in which they read the letters that were sent to Awdry, and Tim Dunn played Awdry as he read the responses. Again, Awdry had such a great sense of humour. My favourite part was his letter about Henry, written by a confused mother. We learnt that his absence in James the Red Engine was Awdry attempting to quietly ignore him for the rest of the series, but he was forced to bring him back in the next book when the young readers did not forget about Henry as he had hoped. It was also incredibly funny that Awdry blamed the mother for her son's confusion over Henry's appearance because she'd bought the books out of order. God, the more I learn about this man, the more I love him. The show was easily the best part of the weekend. Getting to hear Veronica Chambers talk so lovingly about her father and their family was incredibly heartwarming, and the show that was performed in the second half was incredibly entertaining and enjoyable to watch. A great end to a great day. But what would the next day bring? Well... The following morning I was up bright and early, ready for my exhibition slot at 10:30. However, I decided to kill time by watching the engines run on Audrey's Park layout at the museum. As it was before Audrey's scheduled timetable, you could request which model ran on the layout, with myself requesting to see Oliver and Mavis in action. It was absolutely beautiful getting to see the models, as built by Awdry himself, running right in front of me. Also, I got to take a picture of my wooden railway Thomas, which I'd had since childhood, right next to Audrey's own model of Thomas, which was one of the most awesome moments of my life. Definitely one for the grandkids. But enough of me talking. Allow me to show you these wonderful models for yourself. After watching the models, it was time for my slot at the exhibition, which I was really excited for because I really enjoyed last year's. However, this year's one may just have topped it. There was so much to see. Just like last year, Skarloey's Series 5 model was on display, along with many other props, as were several original paintings from the Railway series, including several from every illustrator. They were also playing the original score of the classic series in the room. But the highlight for me was getting to see the original model of my favourite character, Henry the Green Engine. I've adored this character for my whole life, and I've always considered him Audrey's finest creation, due to how much I related to him due to my personal health struggles during my childhood. Honestly, I spent so much of my slot just staring at that model and taking pictures. In fact, there was a lot of Henry in this exhibition. Audrey's model of Henry was included as well, as was a lot of information about the original BBC pilot of the first attempt of a televised adaptation of the Railway series, which involved a failed adaptation of the sad story of Henry, including the shooting script and a host of letters from parties unsatisfied with the results, including one from Awdry himself, which I couldn't for the life of me work out. So if any of you can read what that letter says, please write in and let me know, because I'd love to find out. The exhibition was absolutely wonderful, and I was so happy that I was able to book the same time slot as Will, so we could share this experience together. But more on that in a little bit. Following the exhibition, it was time for us to board the Pop Special, named after the story by Christopher Awdry, from a severely overlooked volume of the Railway series, Great Little Engine. And as Duncan is one of Will's favourite characters, and has been for the 6 years I've known him, let's hand over to Will to see what he thinks of finally riding on the real Duncan.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Got it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Will. So off we puffed for a wonderful scenic journey across the railway, and without a drop of rain this time. Once we reached Abergynnowen, we met up with our friend Spencer, and were treated to a lovely afternoon treat of a cheese sandwich, digestive biscuits, a bag of salted crisps, and a carton of apple juice. We also had a wonderful journey on the way back. Having caught up with Spencer, we sat with him on the return journey, and also got to sit with Sleepy Henry and her partner Laura. Also, Spencer read Pop Special on the Pop Special. However, given the noise in the coach, it's not that intelligible, so I'll just play a small bit. Spencer is going to read us a tale.
During the summer, a party of scouts set up tents in the fields beside the line. They busted about arranging things, but they were never too busy to wait to the engines as they passed. They'd come for their annual camp, explained the donkey's driver. It's a sort of holiday for them.
On the journey, we were talking about how beautiful Wales was, and I said that since I live in Croydon, anywhere else is beautiful to me. To which Laura responded, "My condolences," which is the only appropriate thing to say to anyone who lives in that hellhole. Seriously, if anyone in Wales needs a roommate, hit me up. Please. And that was all for the special events during the weekend. For us. I didn't end up getting a ticket for the photo charter this year, because it sold out the second the tickets went live. So instead, I spent some time socialising with the rest of the crew. I also got to talk about Better Call Saul with Adam and Tom, or Thomas Van Fousen too, who was a lovely bloke. In fact, the two of us quoted an entire monologue by the character Chuck McGill as we watched Duncan prepare for the photo charter. And kids, if you ever watch the masterpieces that are Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, just know that the second you find someone who's a fan of them, you've made a damn good friend. I also got to speak to Michael White, who wrote several episodes of the TV show in its final series. He was kind enough to sign my Royal Engine book and DVD, as he'd written that special back in 2020. I also asked Luke Ryan and Veronica Chambers to sign my copy of Great Little Engines as well, which they were both kind enough to do so. But the best part of all of this was getting to see my friends at this event. Alex and I had known each other for years, and by finally meeting in person and experiencing a 6-hour road trip together, we became closer than ever. It was also an honour to finally see Tom in person, and Spencer, who I only wish I got to spend more time with that weekend. But Will, that man's been one of my best friends for 6 years. We share everything together. He's helped me through all kinds of tough times in my life, and he's one of the best men I know. And I am so happy that he made it this year, because sharing this weekend with him was all that was missing last year. And having him here now made this year's event truly special. As for my poor bank account, by the end of the weekend I had accumulated a cap, 2 t-shirts, a day ticket, a ticket for Ivo's Flying Bedstead, a giant book about the railway, a calendar for 2024, a Sallyclin Railway pen, and a partridge in a pear tree. So that's the whole story. We got something to eat, went back to the railway the next morning for breakfast, and to see the engines looking like themselves again. Then we said our goodbyes, and Alex drove me home. This weekend was one of the best experiences of my life. Even best than last year, I'd say. It was such a privilege getting to ride on the original locomotives that inspired some of my favourite characters, as well as getting to see some of the original props and paintings behind one of my favourite TV show and book series. But having my friends around made it an experience I'll never forget. Well, that's enough from me, because I interviewed several other fans on their experiences during the event. Many you'll probably recognise, so please enjoy. And from me, all I have left is one final line of wisdom. To quote Tim Dunn, never stop playing with trains.
Yeah, I just find it interesting meeting so many fans and people, not just older fans, but the younger ones as well, because seeing them know just as much as the older ones, if not in some cases more, and just I've seen a proper sense of community shift amongst fandom members, because normally we're just looking at each other on our screens and through text messages. We don't really meet face to face and have sort of not that that's not genuine, but just like a proper face to face connection. I feel like is what really brings this event together for old fans and younger.
How's the event for you? How have you been enjoying it? What's it been like?
The event's been great. Obviously, there's been a lot of people here. It's been really nice meeting a lot of people, seeing a lot of people's stuff, running on the trains with people. It's great. It's nice to be in a place where we're all Thomas fans. None of us feel excluded or anything. We're all like each other. It's great to be with your own kind.
What's your highlights?
Probably going to, it's not here, but going to the Chorus Railway, I got a cab ride because I brought along a model of number 7, and they were like, oh my god, that's so cool. So you can have a cab ride and then someone can have they can wave the flag. My friend Tony waved the flag and I got the cab ride. It was sweet, it was really fun.
Cool.
I am loving it every second.
So, have you had any personal highlights? What's been so great about the experience?
I think it's got to be, well, the weather of course, and everyone just being together and being friendly and just loving what we enjoy really.
Fair enough.
And I think that's it. We just love Thomas, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Okay, thank you. So, Adam.
Yes.
How have you been enjoying the Extravaganza this year? I asked the same question last year.
I know you did, yes. I have been enjoying the Extravaganza itself very well. I've been enjoying my time. It's so great to meet so many amazing Thomas fans, and I actually feel way more comfortable than I did last year. Like, now that I actually know everyone, I feel like I can be more myself a lot more, and it's just great to catch up with everyone, you know, because it's nice to not be online anymore. We're actually interacting in person. It's great.
I know, because also there's no wind this year, so...
no wind, so you can actually hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is legible.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have a highlight?
Well, I have many highlights. I really liked that I got to write down everyone's names. I might send you a photo later, but I got to write down everyone's names in a book. And there's so many names in the book. I'm really happy, and loads of people I really like in that book. There was also, I loved hanging out with lads in Bala Lake as well. You know, messing around with them and having a laugh. And it was also nice to talk about you know, Tracks to Big Adventures with Tom. You know, because we've always been on Discord, so it's nice to do it in person. You know, so many amazing things. Yeah. Too many things to list, honestly.
Also, just one thing, he lost his car keys, so he was late for the Fred train.
Yeah, I booked one train and it was the freight train, and because I lost my car keys in the sand dunes, I had to get a car towed all the way across Wales, and then I still haven't got my car keys back at all. But I did get what was it? Oh yeah, I got this keychain, so that, you know, if I get car keys again, I can possibly attach them, you know, possibly.
Attach your house keys?
Well, I lost my house keys too, actually, so that's... no, it's okay. I'm sure I have spare house keys somewhere. Everyone around us is cringing at the moment, but I'll be fine. Well, never say never, but...
Okay, well, thank you, Adam.
Anyway.
Okay, so how have you been enjoying the Audreys? How's the experience been? What do you...
It's been great so far, just meeting all the fans, you know, from the whole world. It's very fun to see. I have been in the fandom for like 6-7 years now, and to finally meet the actual humans behind the usernames and the videos and the content, it's great.
So you say you have highlights?
From the last few days.
From the last few days.
Yeah, I think the pop special was kind of like special, you know.
Yeah, because we were on it earlier, weren't we? We were.
Yeah, exactly. And it was very strange to see like the real model series stuff for the first time in the exhibition.
Oh yeah, because the model of Henry.
Yeah, exactly. That was really cool to see.
Really cool.
Because it was my first time seeing the actual models in real life, so that was like really special to see. Yeah, and also standout was the event last night with Tim Dunn and Veronica Chambers. Yeah, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, so that was like great to see.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, it's Dan here.
So Daniel.
Yeah.
How have you been enjoying the Audreys Extravaganza?
Well, very much like the last 2 years, except way even better. 2 thumbs up.
So what was your highlights?
Well, most notably the pop special and Freddy's special train and another Awdry exhibition, which is another one of those highlights. I very much enjoyed them all. Everything to be exact, as well as the models and toys gathering from outside Town Wolf Station. It was one of those highlights, and yeah, it was fun.
How was the Audrey Extravaganza, Al?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's been really nice to meet loads of people that I've spoken to for absolutely years, and to finally get to talk to them and meet them in person has just been such a unique experience for me.
So what would you say was your highlights?
Probably going on Ivor Hugh's flying trolley was just so much fun, because it went a lot faster than I thought, and I had great company on it as well, so I just, such a massive highlight. And said company
was me.
Yeah, said company was Will.
How have you been enjoying the Audrey Extravaganza, Will?
I've loved it, every second of it. Absolutely loved it.
What was your highlights?
My highlight was meeting everyone, all the fans, all the friends who I've only known of mine. It's been fantastic.
Actually, Will, I didn't ask you, what was your highlight, your favourite event?
My favourite event? The lecture. The lecture was my favourite event. Sorry, it took me a long time to say that. Yes, with Veronica Chambers. I loved meeting Veronica Chambers. Such a lovely woman. So great. And I actually got her to sign my new collection, graciously given to me by, not much so far. So yeah, and also Tim Dunn, legend. What a legend. But anyway, that was the lecture was probably my highlight of the event.
Hi, so I'm Luke. I've helped organise all this, and it's really fun to see everyone enjoying themselves, just having so much joy on their faces. It's a little bit different for the railway, but everyone's having such a good time. It's amazing, and we appreciate kind of just everyone coming so far. We've got people from Germany, Italy, and everywhere, and it's kind of insane. But thank you all for coming. Thank you for watching this video as well, and thank you.